Now when I shadow, I like to really give a lot of depth to those structures, to those individual appendages that are going to support in between the membrane. And then when I'm doing the membrane and shadowing it, like I am right now, I will give it a certain amount of depth. Now how you do that is by casting the shadow, just like I'm doing right now. And the wider your shadow, the more the suggestion is to the viewer, the higher or the thicker the depth of those armatures or structures, bone structures, of the wing actually are. That's the beauty of shadowing. You know, when you do this as a line drawing and it's finished, it can really look nice as a contour. But once you've shadowed it, you can take it in a completely new direction. You can give it so much more character, and such a different character than what might have been perceived by someone else by looking at just the line. Many times I'll show people the line work, and then when I go into shadow it, it has such a different look. People will many times say, "Is that the same drawing?" Now you may actually be saying that right now. And again, it's an interpretation issue. Now, if I had chose to have the light source on the opposite side, the entire back side of this drawing would pretty much be in the darkness, and only that very front underside of his neck, the very limited side of his cheekbones that you can just about barely see would be highlighted. And so you'd have a lot less highlight. You'd have a much more dramatic piece, as far as much more darker piece. You'd have everything in shadowing and just a teeny bit of light. And you would have a tremendous amount of lead on your paper. Of course, I opted not to do that simply because it doesn't offer the best option to show the detail, the musculature, and all the glory that can be done with shadowing. One of the other things you want to consider when you're doing sketching, especially shadowing, is taking a step back every now and then. Now, what you'll see, this is of course a video that's been accelerated a little bit, so every now and then when I pull my hand back, I'm doing that so that I can look at everything that my hand was covering to get another analysis of whereabouts I am, just to make sure that I'm consistent with my light source, that I've got the values from dark to light that I need. And I do this periodically just to make sure that everything is in balance. Again, the biggest problem with shadowing for so many artists is they get hung up on one area, they focus on just that, and before they know it, they've got tremendous inconsistencies from light to dark, from one side of the page to the other, from one section of the anatomy to another. Now, a lot of times, it's something that's an option for each artist, and it's up to them how they want to do it. But you can utilize different types of lead. Now, I used a 2B for the purpose of this demonstration throughout the entire thing. I'm able to work with a 2B successful enough that I can do some of the fine detail work, at the same time get those darks that I need. A lot of people opt to do the HB pencil, which can give us, it's a little bit of a harder lead. It'll allow you to do a lot more fine detail work without the worry of smudging. And I strongly recommend you doing that. If you feel like when you do your contour line drawings, you want to work with the HB, and then when you're ready to do some of your dark values, go in with a softer lead, that's perfectly acceptable. The couple of brands that are out there that I'd recommend, the Derwent Graphics, they're made out of England. They're a great pencil. But I also have to say the Pro Art series is a very affordable series, and Pro Art, you can get that at just about any art supply store. Very inexpensive. You can get the HB, 2B, 6B, and 4B sets. And that pretty much covers anything you need. Now at the moment, as I'm finished with all my shadowing, I'm going in with some of the major smudges that, of course, my right hand did to some of the artwork. And again, this happened because of the video. And now I'm going in with the smudging tool. And what I'm doing is I'm taking the dark lead that I've already placed down, and I'm bringing that dark lead into the mid-grade tones, those areas where I still want to see some shadowing, but it's got to be subtle. But I don't want it to be just blank white paper. Now you'll start to notice, you see how the eyes and the eye sockets got a lot darker? Same thing with underneath the jaw right now. I'm defining that. I'm bringing more three-dimensionality to the image by solidifying and kind of bringing solid tones of shadows in. Same thing for the back of the neck, because on the upper back side, top side, is where the light source would be limited the most. Now right about now, you can see as I'm smudging in the side of the neck, You can almost see how that neck's starting to punch out now. There's a really good crevice and a lot of depth coming out of that neck. And there you have some more. Again, going right down into the traps in the back shoulders of the dragon. Here we have that side. This is giving the indication to the viewer that there's a crevice that goes inset a little bit. Now here we are, putting a little bit more shadowing into the back side, just underneath the scapula, the shoulder blade of the dragon. It gives you a feeling that that wing bone structure is a little bit further off the page than you would have anticipated earlier. A lot of the work I'm doing right now is kind of off of the video's eye, but I will be showing you a finished piece, finished photo shot of the image in this video so you can get an idea of what I did up there. Now I'm working around each and every one of those scales to give it a little more roundness, a little more spherical depth to it. Once again, working on the back, going to separate the back from those appendages that support the wings, giving a little more roundness to the deltoid and the shoulder region. There's that highlight I was speaking about, right just above where I was shadowing there. That little reflective light highlight that punches that arm away from the very end of the wing. Once again, smudging in between on the membrane, giving more depth to the structures and the armatures and the bone structure of the wing. You know, these smudging tools are fabulous. Best things in the world. You can get them at any art supply store. Different heights, different lengths. Now what I'm doing is I'm using a kneaded eraser, and I'm going in and taking out all those little smudges that my hand made, just to give the highlights around the drawing itself, getting a nice clean background. Now I'm going into all those little areas that need to be picked up again, the highlights that were smudged over. Just a few pickups here and there. Going back in, some final little fine details with the smudging tool, erasing again. Putting little highlights on the horns. And there you have it. Now here's the final piece. I hope you've enjoyed this segment of shading, and definitely check out the part 1, which is contour line drawing. Thank you for your time. Hope you enjoyed it.